I don't get angry at the bills I have to pay. I don't get angry when my mom smokes pot, hits the bottle and goes right to the rock. Fucking and fighting, it's all the same. Living with Louis Dog's the only way to stay sane. Let the loving come back to me. Loving is what I got. I said remember that. Loving is what I got. I remember that. Loving is what I got. I said remember that. Loving is what I got. I got. We're not that far off. So that's. See, but we're done there.
Yo, this is the headliner from Arrested Development, and right now you're in the midst of a celebration of life, death, and the struggles of our ancestors.
Take the brother out for being rude. And like I said before, I was mad by then. It took 3 or 4 cops to pull me off the hill. But that's the story, y'all, of a black man acting like a nigga. Niggas don't buy an African. You see, everyday people. Come on. Hey, hey, come on. See, everyday people. Every day. feel so close to you right now. It's a force field. I wear my heart up on my sleeve like a big deal. Your love pours down on me, surround me like a waterfall. And there's no stopping us right now. I feel so close to you right now. Right now, I feel so close to you right now. Stopping us right now. And there's no stopping us right now. And there's no stopping us right now. I feel so close to you right now.
look at you walking in here looking all pretty and angry and mean and good. Now, I know you didn't get your hair done, so you can just sit down and just sit still.
Hey, we trying to have a good time tonight. Let's go, baby.
Let's go, baby.
It's my birthday.
No, it's not.
But I still look good, though.
How come? Ow.
I bet you want an autograph. But you and your friends gotta do it in the penthouse. That's why I keep my pen. What, you can't dance? Ain't got rhythm? What, you got a man? I don't see you with him. Put your phone down. Let's get it. Forget your Instagram and your Twitter. Got me like, whoa. Wait a minute. You need to take a minute.
Loosen them shoulders up. Pull it up. Let's work.
Throw some perm on your attitude. Girl, you gotta relax.
Ooh.
Let me show you what you got to do.
You gotta lay it back.
Matter of fact, bang, show how to lay it back. Show how to lay it back. Show how to lay it back. Ow. Show how to lay it back. Alright. Come on, baby, I love you.
No, you don't.
You never know I might though. Can't say I won't. There's that smile I'm looking for.
Was that so hard?
If you ever need a smile again, girl, take my card. Razzle dazzle, never gonna stop. What you want is what I got. You wanna get down? You gotta get up. Don't be stingy with your big old butt. You got a booty like whoa. Wait a minute, I'm just playing with you.
Loosen them shoulders up. Pull it up. Let's work.
Throw some perm on your attitude. Girl, you gotta relax.
Ooh.
Let me show you what you got to do.
You gotta lay it back.
Matter of fact, bang, show how to lay it back. Show how to lay it back. Show how to lay it back. Ow. Show how to lay it back. Alright. Hey, now you got it, baby. You trying to have some fun tonight? You just gotta follow these simple instructions. You ready? You need to activate your sex. Activate your sex. Silky smooth and snap. Silky smooth and snap. Now lean with it. Lean. Throw a little sheen in it. Sheen. Then pat, pat, pat till it's flat. One more time. You need to activate your sex. Activate your sex. Silky smooth and snap. Silky smooth and snap. Now lean with it. Lean. Throw a little sheen in it. Sheen. Then pat, pat, pat till it's flat. I'll sing it again. Throw some perm on your attitude. Woo. Girl, you gotta relax. Ooh, let me show you what you got to do. You gotta lay it back. Matter of fact, bang, show how to lay it back. Show how to lay it back. Show how to lay it back now. Ow. Show how to lay it back right now.
I stay out too late. Got nothing in my brain. That's what people say. That's what people say. I go on too many dates, but I can't make them stay. At least that's what people say. That's what people say. But I keep cruising. Can't stop, won't stop moving. It's like I got this music in my mind saying it's gonna be alright. 'Cause the player's gonna play, 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 play. And the haters gonna hate, 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 baby. I'm just gonna shake, 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 shake. Shake it off, shake it off. Heartbreaker's gonna break, 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 break. And the faker's gonna fake, 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 baby. I'm just gonna shake, 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 shake. Shake it off, shake it off. I never miss a beat. I'm lightning on my feet. And that's what they don't see. That's what they don't see. I'm dancing on my own. Dancing on my own. Make the moves up as I go. And that's what they don't know. That's what they don't know. But I shake. Shake it off, shake it off. Heartbreaker's gonna break, 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 break. And the baker's gonna bake, 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 baby. I'm just gonna shake, 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 shake. Shake it off, shake it off. Shake it off, shake it off. I shake it off, I shake it off. I shake it off, I shake it off. I shake it off, I shake it off.
Hey, hey, hey! Just think, while you've been getting down and out about the liars and the dirty, dirty cheats of the world, you could have been getting down to this sick beat.
My ex-man brought his new girlfriend. She's like, oh my god, but I'm just gonna shake into the fella over there with the hella good hair. Won't you come on over, baby? We can shake, shake, shake. Yeah. 'Cause the player's gonna play, 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 play. And the haters gonna hate, 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 hate. I'm just gonna shake, 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 shake. Shake it off, shake it off. Heartbreaker's gonna break, 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 break. And the baker's gonna bake, 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 baby. I'm just gonna shake, 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 shake. Shake it off, shake it off. Shake it off, shake it off. I shake it off, I shake it off. I shake it off, I shake it off. I shake it off, I shake it off. Shake it off, I shake it off. I shake it off, I shake it off. You got to shake it off, I shake it off. I shake it off, I shake it off.
I got this feeling inside my bones. It goes electric wavy when I turn it on. Off from my city, off from my home. We're flying up, no ceiling when we in our zone. I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off it, moving so phenomenally. Room on lock the way we rock it, so don't stop. And under the lights when everything goes, nowhere to hide when I'm getting you close. When we move, well, you already know. So just imagine, just imagine. Nothing I can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel a good, good creeping up on you. So just dance, dance, dance. Come on. All those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. And ain't nobody leaving soon, so keep dancing. I can't stop the feeling. So just dance, dance, dance. I can't stop the feeling. So just dance, dance, dance. Come on. Ooh, it's something magical. It's in the air, it's in my blood, it's rushing on. I don't need no reason, don't be control. I fly so high, no ceiling when I'm in my zone. 'Cause I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that hot blood in my body when it drops. Ooh, I can't take my eyes off it, moving so phenomenally. Room on lock the way we rock it, so don't stop, stop, stop. Under the lights when everything goes, nowhere to hide when I'm getting you close. When we move, well, you already know. So just imagine, just imagine. Nothing I can see but you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel a good, good creeping up on you. So just dance, dance, dance. Come on. All those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. And ain't nobody leaving soon, so keep dancing. Can't stop the feeling. So just dance, dance, dance. Can't stop the feeling. So just dance, dance, dance. Can't stop the feeling. So just dance, dance, dance. Can't stop the feeling. Yeah. So keep dancing. Oh, yeah, yeah. I can't stop the. 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 Nothing I can see but at you when you dance, dance, dance. Feel the good, good creeping up on you, so just dance, dance, dance. Come on. All those things I shouldn't do, but you dance, dance, dance. Ain't nobody leaving, so keep dancing. Everybody say, got this feeling in my body. Got this feeling in my body. Can't stop the feeling. Wanna see you move your body. Can't stop the feeling. Got this feeling in my body. Break it down. Got this feeling in my body. Can't stop the feeling. Got this feeling in my body.
And hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everybody. February 2018. Hello. Whoa. I had this strong feeling this morning to share a particular, something I've said a lot, but I'm not sure it's been felt in the room. And for those who were here for the first time, we had a quick little chat this morning. And I thought, what a strange room this is. It's a strange, strange room full of strange, strange people. Do you get what I mean? The thing about us as humans is how much we love to sort of form and norm, don't we? Like, let's get more sameness. Let's get more sameness. Let's get more same age, same, it's values. Our values must be aligned, because if our values are the same, then we can be a community. I'm not sure that person belongs. They're not the same values as mine. And what I thought, and it was very clear to me what this community has always needed to be, and I think maybe it bears repeating, and maybe it should be made incredibly explicit, is in my mind, you are not really in a tribe. Here. You are, but it's a tribe of chiefs. And so what really goes on, if you're going to nail this game, you've got a tribe somewhere. And you're always here in some way, in that tribe. Does that make sense? We have this huge human need to belong, don't you think? And so what that does is that causes us to fit in and sometimes struggle to stand out and all sorts of things like that. But I would ferociously call this room to remember that when we come together in this space, we're not really coming as a tribe, that's secondary. That we're actually coming as leaders of our tribes. And that what you bring with you is kind of 1,500 strong. Now, if you go, it's 15 people, and it's 150 people, or it's 500 people, but it hasn't quite built there yet. I feel that each of you needs to get to that point. So this is the place where, as leaders, you get to immerse yourself with other leaders. So it becomes very much a circle within a circle. But what that means is there's going to be extraordinary variety in this room, and maybe more than we've had. And one of our missions throughout this year, we have several, is to have a stronger kind of diversity and inclusiveness. And I think we're pretty good, you know, because diversity can happen with ethnicity. And you go, our country has sort of challenges around that. It can happen with gender. And when I think about our successful black belts and the gender ratio, we're doing okay. Like, there's some pretty extraordinary some results there. I think it can happen with demography and the demographics of age. And so when we talk about millennials and Gen Ys and baby boomers and the like, and I think we could do better there. Who thinks there could be some extraordinary younger thought leaders in the room? Do you know what I mean? Like, there's this wonderful opportunity for diversity there. And then ultimately what it gets down to the ultimate competitive... See, D&I is not about the moral obligation that we all get on. To me, D&I is about competitive advantage. It's about better thinking instead of groupthink. It's about all of those things that diversity could bring. And I think when we get into that different ways of thinking, that's where it doesn't matter what package you've turned up in. I actually think this is a very, very strange room full of very, very strange individuals with very, very strange ideas. And I think that's extraordinarily cool. I was in Vietnam January last year, and there's a T-shirt I saw that was same, but different. And I really love this idea as maybe how we are, Like, we're all same. We're all thought leaders, we're all building tribes, we're all chiefing our tribes, but geez, we're different. And I actually think you embracing that difference is sort of critically important for you. And so what does that mean? Well, you walk into a room where everybody's kind of the same and knows each other, you can get on, you can connect, you can very quickly feel at home. But I think that because we are same but different, it takes a certain energy to be in this community. Now, some people are naturally good at it. Who is just buzzed by people? And the idea of walking into a room full of people today was just so like, oh, hello, I'm done already. Show of hands, where are you? I love you, thank you. Thank you. I don't understand you, but I appreciate you. And who is a little bit more like, okay, phew, it's going to be a lot of humans. That's a lot of energy. Did you like burn a candle? Did you do an aura sonoma? I'm carrying a talisman in my pocket. I took my shoes off at some point and walked outside. I'm trying to ground myself because to be around so much human energy is discombobulating. Who's that? Yeah. And you are not that, are you? You're not extrovert and introvert. We know that to lead your tribe, you'll have to be ambivert, right? You're going to have to. I'm sorry, that label no longer works. If you're going to lead a tribe, you're going to have to be gregarious at some point. You're going to have to give energy and get energy from people. And then equally, you're going to have to be reflective and contemplative. And these labels, my friend Glenn Capelli says, labels are for jars, not people. Yeah? This is going to be critically important. So how do you socialise in this room? Well, first of all, you don't really have to because you've got a tribe. But it wouldn't hurt to have a network of leaders going through the challenges you're going through. How to deal with the criticism, how to deal with your cognitive bias. I had a cognitive bias experience as a presenter where some people kind of really laid on me that I was out of touch as a presenter. And I was not on, it wasn't, political correctness, right? Hands up who's really appreciating the Me Too movement and the political correctness. I am. Raising daughter, very, very interested. Is anybody a little bit like, oh, I feel like that everyone's maybe a bit too sensitive and a bit too PC? Yeah, well, I was talking to my mother, and she's 80, and she said, I said, Mum, you can't say jokes like that. She did a joke in front of the kids, and Mum, you just can't say jokes like that. And the kids are going, she's inappropriate nana, is what they call her. And I had this epiphany, and I said, well, you know what? Nobody makes jokes about ethnicity. Well, the ethnicity jokes have gone. Mum was saying there's no fun in the world anymore because everyone's so cautious. And I said, but we've gotten rid of jokes that would be racist, and there's still things to laugh about, because she was worrying about the jokes that were sexist. So I think that when you're going to be a leader of your tribe, your pace of evolution is going to set the pace of your tribe. And when you're slow, your tribe's not going to grow as fast as it can. And so make no mistake, this is not a personal development journey. And the theme for this immersion is you. So with our guest speakers and with a lot of our sessions, there'll be work on who you're being and how you're choosing to turn up. And I would encourage you to stay open to that, but to remember the reason we're doing that work is it makes your practice go faster. It helps your practice get to black belt faster. It helps you chief your tribes more effectively. And this is really, really important, because as the leader of your tribe, you don't want to be the cork in the bottle, and you will be. So this is a great place for you to come and expand the possibility of how leaderful you are as a person, and there's a challenge in that space. So I think extrovert and introvert is not particularly useful, and so we all will need to access all of this all of the time. So what we're going to do is an exercise where you're going to go meet someone who you've not met before, and I want to try and break down some cliques. Who's been here for over a year? Yeah, you got friends. Who's here for the first time? You've got friends too, because you're all sitting in the corner. Who's here for like the third time? Yeah, on your own. So what we kind of need to do is we need to get beyond what's comfortable. And if there's anybody in the room that's triggered you or given you charge in a conversation, I'd go towards them, not away from them. because I think you're going to have your greatest learning as a leader in understanding what's going on in that space. Good luck with that. So we're going to go and we're going to do a classic sort of networking thing where we're going to walk around and go, hi, my name is. And I would like to know what you think the best icebreaker question is. So I'm interested in we're all going to use the same question. So who's got some questions? What would we say, Linda? What would be a good question?
Liz Gilbert asks from Big Magic is what's exciting in your life? What's the most exciting thing in your life right now?
Fantastic. Elizabeth Gilbert from Big Magic says that one of the things that we can do to engage with people is what's the most exciting thing in your life right now? That's a good first one. Voidy?
Movie if they made one about you.
If they made a movie about you, who would be the actor that would play you? Good. You'd be John Candy? I can see it. No, John Candy is good.
What are your strengths? What invigorates you?
Ooh, strengths. That's a good one. We might get to that one on day 2. So what we're going to go with, if someone played you in a movie, and we're going to go with what's exciting you right now. You can use either or both of those. We're going to do 3 changes in this process. I know. The music is going to be playing and it's going to be loud, and you're going to want to say, turn it down. I can't hear the person. I know. It's annoying. So you might have to turn it up. All right? Everyone ready? All right? So we're going to do a couple of changes. Whose sphincter just went, Welcome to leading your tribe. Everybody up, go find a strange person. This is so up your alley. You're loving it. Yeah, my man. Just gotta walk away from each other.
I know you moved on to someone new. Hope life is beautiful. You were the light for me to find my truth. I just wanna say thank you.
Leaving to find my soul. Told her I had to go. And I know it ain't pretty when our hearts get broke. Too young to feel this old. Watching us both turn cold. Oh, I know it ain't pretty when 2 hearts get broke. Yeah, I know it ain't pretty.
You already know it.
When 2 hearts get broke.
What do you say about happy person?
I hope someday we'll sit down together and laugh with each other about these days. All our troubles we'll lay to rest, and we wish we could come
Socially
back to
aware one.
these days.
And stop. Thank you. Thank you. And switch. Ha ha ha! Go get someone else.
last name, but that changed. And I traveled around the world, think where you living at now. I heard you moved to Austin, got an apartment and settled down. And every once in a while, I start texting, write a paragraph, but then I delete the message. Think about you like a pastime. I could cry you a river and get you baptized.
That's so self. That's another self being a self. There is no me. And they don't exist either. What a stupid
They say that things fall apart. We were gonna move to Brooklyn, we were gonna study art. Love is just a tool to remind us who we are, and that we are not alone when we're walking in the dark.
Someday we'll sit down together and laugh with each other about these days, these days. All our troubles will lay to rest. We wish we could come back to these days, these days. We wish we could go back to these days, these days, these days. When you look so good, the pain in your face doesn't show. When you look so good, and baby you don't even know. When the world is ours, the world is
running a version.
full of shooting stars, brighter as the vanishing. Oh, you've seen enough to know it's children who teach. You're still free enough to wake up on
And thank you. Grab a seat as my favourite song keeps playing. Grab a seat. We're done.
I'll be crying out. How bad can a good time be? Shooting off my mouth. That's another great thing.
And grab a seat. Here we go.
I have everything, but I feel like nothing at all. There's no risky thing for a man who's determined to fall.
All right, here we go.
You're the best thing about me, the best thing that ever happened to a boy. You're the best thing about me.
All right, good. Fantastic. There are a few changes rolling out. We've spent the summer in reflection. Huge thank you to the 73 people who did the Loyalty Zone survey. That's our second year doing that. For those that are in, it builds towards a Net Promoter Score, and we're super grateful for the specific comments around what's working and what can be improved. And the crew and the leadership team are deeply reading all of those bits, grateful for everything. It's triggered some really good conversations. Which are extraordinary. And you're going to see some mild changes sort of each immersion, but who's been in a few immersions? Who says that's what always happens? There's always something that gets changed. So you're going to experience them and a few more. One of them was your learning passport that you had to fill out, and you weren't allowed to enter the learning zone without doing this. That was very didactic, wasn't it? It was like, well, screw you, I may not do it. Just me? I would definitely have been a misfit maverick on that. But you remember it had, what do you want to need when you're here? What do you want to begin from this? What do you want to complete and finish, and what do you need to change? And the whole purpose of these questions and the passport is to get you owning your learning journey and being in control of where you go. And because it's not our experience of education to actually be that in control. It can sometimes, we can go back to muscle memory, and muscle memory is like how you used to sit in uni, how you used to sit in personal development seminars, how you used to sit at school, or whatever it might be. And so we're trying to just see what we can do to shift that learning environment. You're going to see more and more things. Owen Harrelson was put in charge of a conference 2 weeks before the conference. The event organisers dropped the ball, they disappeared as a committee, and as the president of the association, he had to have a 3,000 person conference up in 2 weeks. He said, there is no way I can get speakers, there is no way I can get a program done. So he set up what's called a self-organised learning environment, and the open spaces movement began. Who's been a facilitator or a learning and development expert for a decade or more, or you know a bit about this as an idea. And what he found is that he set a few rules up, like whatever happens is the only thing that could, whatever times it starts. He set up this really loose structure for how people might come together to have an experience. And one of the things that I took away I loved is you get to choose whether you want to be a bumblebee or a butterfly in these conversations. So everyone sort of goes to the sessions they want. So you might put up the name of a session and no one comes. And instead of charity and sympathy, you know, dragging people to go and sit in that room, the idea just failed. No one was interested in having a conversation around it, which can be brutal. And equally, no one had to sit in any conversation they didn't want to. And everyone had the permission to either flit like a butterfly or come in like a bee where they go, boom, here's an idea, and then walk away like a bomb. And so butterflies and bumblebees became the way you move from room to room. And we were thinking, I think that you're probably, who's like at year 3 and beyond? So I'm reckoning you've got a green sheet, and when we're doing the green sheet session, you probably don't need to do a green sheet. Who thinks that's possible? I'm thinking you might have already done a few. So how do you choose to be? Well, I think there's 3 ways you can choose to be in any one of the work sessions that occurs. You can be working. So I'm doing a green sheet, and you've got your hat on and you're working. And I think it might be nice to know this, choose this, and disclose this. Because who reckons you're going to be watching some people? Like, you're like, I'm just going to watch. I learn watching what someone does, and you're just going to flit around like a bumblebee or a butterfly, just watching. Who reckons at times you might watch? Who's like pretty nailed pink sheets? I think, Kieran, you're kind of good on pink sheets. I think you've done all right. I think Lynn Gazali, probably good on pink sheets. Might need to, a little bit of work needed. Maybe metaphors. But who reckons it's kind of presumptuous to teach, isn't it? So imagine if you were here for day 1, it'd be very presumptuous to teach. But what if you really nailed it? Like in curriculum, you really nailed it. Like, you're like, I'm so all over this. I've got this positioning thing just done. It made so much sense to me and I'm ready to rock. Then one of the ways you learn deeply, and Salman Khan referenced this with the flipped Khan Academies, is that when the smart kid who gets 10 out of 10 sits with the kid who's struggling on question 7, the learning for the kid on question 7, yeah, that's what it is, but the smart kid's learning is like unbelievable. Their deepening through the teaching environment is unbelievable. And I think whether you're on faculty or not, and you've got to realise there's got to be permission. So faculty has that explicit permission to be teachers. But you might go, I'm actually pretty good at this idea, and therefore you might have something that you could contribute and help with your room. So I want you just to realise not only are we same, but different, but you might be like this on pink sheet, but something else on green sheet, something else on cluster. Does that make sense? And I want you to give yourself permission to be aware of the roles you're playing and shifting in this environment. In all things, leaders choose to be above the line, right? So if this is a room full of leaders, if this is a tribe of chiefs who each have tribes, this is a great place to practice being above the line, because I think you can get triggered amongst other chiefs, because what they do is very, very different. And wherever there's charge, there's extraordinary learning. And I want you to be able to navigate that charge. Last immersion, I introduced this framework and suggesting that we want to be above this line of intent as often as possible. And essentially what it is for me is that when you're operating... I think I'm meant to explain this one without visuals, is what I think. So go to the oops slide. I like the oops slide. And... in that environment, when you're below the line, there's 3 primary things that are driving how you feel or behave. It's, I am afraid, so I'm going to run away from. When we hit our brakes, can you run towards different people? Who doesn't have a dinner organised tonight and is going, what am I going to go for dinner? I don't actually think I want to go for dinner. I think what I'll do is I'll just go to my room, and they've changed the room service menu, and I've heard the pumpkin soup's okay. Has anybody got an inner dialogue a bit like that? Oh, you know what? It's been a busy day. It's my first day. I think I'll just be by myself. I'm going, Or you might go, hey, do you want to do something together? And that you're going to be proactive around that. No, I like the oops. Thank you. And in that proactivity, I want you to run into the opportunity to learn in the breaks, to learn in the conversations, to learn in the workout sessions, to learn through Saturday, just to be deep in running towards the learning experience of being with this extraordinary room full of people. We can have pumpkin soup on Monday. Yep, but let's get out and meet with some people. I think that one of the things that can, when you get upset at something someone said, you can move into anger. And I reckon that anger is really unhelpful, and it's my go-to emotion. So if I'm ever going to be below the line, I'm always kind of pissed off at everybody else. And it's that moment where you forget that we're all in this together. You are just like me. And I want you, if at any point in a conversation with anybody throughout this immersion, you find yourself kind of, wow, pissed off that someone said that. The key phrase that I think is incredibly useful is to go, wow, that's so interesting. Why would you say that? And I reckon that question is a get out of jail free question, because it takes us from our assumptions and our reactions into some deeper learning. Wow, that's interesting. Why would you say that to me? And just remember, we're all in this together. My anger management coach tells me that one of the best things I And very quickly, any of that, you don't even, this is a foreign language to you, Stacey, the most unjudgmental person I've ever met. But it's generally the separation and the sense of aloneness that makes us angry. Pride is the need to tell us about all the amazing things you did this quarter. We've got some time for that, and I'm not sure it's going to be the way you'll engage with other leaders. Does that make sense? When you turn up to a tribe of followers, sometimes those things are important, the successes and the wins. But when you're with other leaders, I think there's a grace and a humility that enables those leaders to connect. So if you find that your pronoun use is very self-oriented, you're going to find that other leaders don't want to be with you. And yet if you're feeling less than by comparison, you feel the need to tell us all your good stuff. And also, that's the way a lot of success and personal development programs come together, where everybody talks about the good things they've done, and they share the good things they've done, and they get status around that. We do celebrate success in a particular way, but just watch out for the pride, because I think it'll stop you connecting with the network that'll carry you and your tribe forward. So have the courage to reach out and connect with people, and remember, in all things, Rowan Dredge's leadership question, ask yourself, what would love do in this moment? And that'll be incredibly useful. Okay, I also want you to be very powerful in this immersion and others about identifying strong, not wrong. I think in the U part of the curriculum, you would have done work on spun alternatives. So everyone remembers watching this video, give me a nod. Everyone remembers identifying the behaviour traits that are less than ideal. Everyone remembers identifying what the supposed preferred opposite is, and then doing a little bit of spin doctoring around how about we work on, you're incredibly analytical, Andrew, you're very factual, and that we don't make that wrong, that we make that strong, and that we actually go, as a result, blah, blah, blah. If I was to, Oscar, you don't talk a lot, you just sit there. And instead of making that wrong, somehow find a way to make it strong. And so whenever you go to I'm not good enough, which is likely to happen, can you just give yourself a little gentle nudge and go, hang on. That's a powerful quality, not a weak quality. I think that post-industrial revolution with standardising and everybody fitting into systems, we all kind of took the uniqueness out and we blanded ourselves into those environments. So any person could interchangeably work in the bureaucracy of the British Empire in Canada or New Zealand. And I'm suggesting that we almost need to revert back to your Renaissance brilliance, where the edgy, crazy, dangerous thing about you is possibly what we're going to sell. And the better you are at identifying that, the more powerful your thought leaders practice will be. So you're strong, not wrong. And that becomes your superpower. Michael Henderson is an anthropologist, a great, great friend of mine and one of my coaches and mentors. And he says that one of the most powerful things to understand is how to chief your tribe. And he said chiefing your tribe begins with the first interaction. And he says a chief greets with intent. I like to think you're on before you're on. I like to think that this program began on Monday for me. I like to think that how I say hello to you is critical to everything, and and I think if you're chiefs, you've got to do the same thing. So this should be one of this thing where we're all really conscious of the energy we're bringing to every first interaction with others. So greet with intent, looking in the eyes, listening sincerely, connecting to someone, not letting our blah blah jang go on in our heads. And now I've greeted people absently, and then you have to, it's a thing you come back to. The second thing that chiefs do in every tribe is that they start the fire every day. So the chief is the first one up, greets with intent, and starts the fire every day. And it's a metaphor, isn't it? It's a metaphor for starting your enthusiasm every day. It's a metaphor for starting the motivation, choosing what culture we're going to create in this room right now. And this starting the fire every day is taking responsibility for the warmth and heat in your community. And so what happens in this community, because there's so many strong leaders, sometimes other great leaders turn up and give up their power in relationship to this tribe. I'm not sure if you can imagine that. It's one of the reasons why sometimes it's hard to stay in this tribe. If your tribe is building and you get respect and acknowledgement and status and belonging in your tribe, it's very hard to stay in this tribe because you don't get it here. Or you've got to earn it differently here. And so I'm going to ask each one of us to be really conscious that we start the fire every day, that we are choosing what relationship we want to have with the people around us, and that we're choosing to be the energetic warmth in every relationship. That's hard, but this is a really, really big leadership challenge. The third one is that chiefs not only start the fire every day and not only greet with intent, but they tend to sit in circles and speak last. And Simon Sinek's been doing a lot of work on the power of when a leader influences a room by telling the room what to do. So what you're going to see with our faculty at our tables, with our learning environments and our sessions, is this desire to empower you, but equally it's going to be weird. Have you ever been to a party where everybody's the host? Have you? It's quite interesting, dynamic, because that's what we need here. So if there's anybody alone here, you're hosting them. There's no waiting to be invited to dinner. There's no waiting to be included in a conversation. Does that make sense? You are all chiefs, so you might as well practice your chiefing with a really tough crowd of chiefs. And I reckon when it comes back to your tribe, everything will be easier. Three things I think help you really well. One of them is you want to get your platform right. So if you were in sales and you were struggling to make phone calls, I'd say, where are you trying to make phone calls from? And you go, I sit in my office, I put on my headset, I make phone calls. I go, well, why don't you stand up and go to a coffee shop and just see if making calls is easier walking around in a noisy coffee shop. You want to set yourself up for success, and the platforms that you surround yourself with will help that happen. It's what day do you do meetings, what day do you do calls, what did you bring to immersion, how are you taking notes, what's your discipline at the end of every day, do you have one, is it to go for a walk, is it to go, so start to set yourself up for success. Number two is that if you want to lead, you're going to have to be the person who changes the energy. Right? So in sales, on a call, a person buys when you lift your energy. Right? So I'm on the phone and I stand up and I get enthusiastic, and at some point I go, I would love to do this with you. So we've gone from am I the right person to I really want to do this. And that energetic shift is when the conversion happens. But it's in everything. So you need to shift the energy in your interactions in this room. You need to shift the energy when you're booked to speak. The energy changes. And you've got to be masters of this. You've got to control your state. Pete and I used to share a room at immersions. And I didn't like it. He's messy. But no, he is. He leaves ironing boards out. You know what I mean? Like you put the ironing board out, you iron, you put it away. And then he said, but you leave towels on the floor. You've got to pick towels up and you've got to hang them up. So we've agreed that we're not going to be in the same room. And the main reason is I spend, as does Pete, we actually spend the first hour of every day getting our state ready for the day. Yeah? Whatever that is. You've got your rituals. I mean, I've got some weird rituals. And I do these rituals in hotel rooms or at home. And I will have to get up at 5. If we're leaving at 6, my ritual takes an hour. So I can't get up at 5. Because if I don't do my ritual, that whole day is gone. And this is you shifting the energy. So you choose your state, and you're the one that's going to bring the energy to conversations. The third thing is you need to find your special source. Whenever you turn up same, and safe, you're not nailing this. Yeah, there's a special source, and you've got to find what that is, and you've got to bring it to every conversation. In sales, Dan Gregory's special source is he's smarter than everyone in the room. And he's thought more about their industry than they have, even though they've been in it for 20 years. Christina Guidotti's special source in a sales environment is her intimacy. She gets deeply intimate fast. And so people buy because they go, wow, I feel like you get me, you know me. And each person has a special source. Peter's special source is integrity. If he says something's going to happen, it will. If he says he's going to do something, he'll do it. And that people hear that integrity in the conversation, and that's why they buy. And it's all sales. It's the sales of you're a thought leader, you've got something to say. It's not just that commercial sale, it's the I'm going to spend time with you, I'm going to give you my attention or my energy. And I think your ability to set yourself up for success, to change and choose your energy, to identify and use your special source, makes everything around this journey easier for you. And this is not the typical story that we have. And I just want to remind you that you're leaders in a room. So if you find yourself falling back into, no, I come to this course and they lead me, I go, you're slowing down your journey. This is a room full of chiefs. And as a tribe full of chiefs, we're all going to consciously choose our energy in all our times. Okay, so one of the big things we did last year, and Lynn helped us extraordinarily, is that we tried to aggressively flip the room. And in that aggressively flipping the room, we're trying to drive work into the room. We started to run hacks. We did all kinds of things that were, our focus was, let's see if we can make it easier for you to do work. This year, what we're wanting to do is to continue every one of our themes, but also drive learning into the room. We don't want this to be a classroom where you come and learn the curriculum, but we do want this to be a place where you understand how to apply the curriculum, because we think that'll answer our primary question is, does that get you to black belt faster? Because that's what's driving nearly every decision we make. Will this get you to black belt faster? Because that's why you're here. So we've asked Tracy and Adam to spend some time looking at the way we approach learning. Could we be better? Pete and I made a decision that we wanted to build a world-class education business together. And subsequently, we got Trace and Ads to give us some ideas, and they did. I didn't like it, because they gave me feedback. But what I know is this is going to help you get to black belt faster. So one of the changes is going to be this idea of a little bit stronger commitment around learning culture. The passport's part of it. There's some self-assessment tools and things like that. And so what I'm going to do in a minute is invite Adam to stage, and I'm going to ask him to talk a little bit about what's his philosophy with Tracy around the design and architecture of how we're going to drive a better learning culture over this next year, which should make us all get to black belt faster. So I would like you to, in this little minute while we set Adam up, I want you to, with the people next to you, I want you to remember the moment you learnt best. I want to say your favourite teacher, but I don't really want to say the favourite teacher. I want to say that as a result of something that teacher did, you had an extraordinary learning environment. Mine was Jerry Prieto, who taught ancient history at Newcastle Grammar School to 12 boys, and he taught us from year 7 through to year 12. I was at Jerry's funeral not long ago, asked to speak the eulogy, and all of us were there. He was our ultimate Robin Williams Dead Poets Society. He said, boys, we could study every ancient culture and you could answer every question in the HSC. I propose we only study 2, Rome and Greece. You'll be able to answer the one Greek question and the one Rome question, and for 6 years, they're the only cultures. I'd like your permission, boys, to run that, as if we weren't going to. It was the only lesson plans he had. And then he took us on this extraordinary journey for 6 years that to this day affects the way I think. And he didn't make me read Aristophanes' The Wasps, but he made me want to read classic Greek plays. And I've done that now to the age of 50. So for mine, it was Jerry Prieto. So could you just find somebody not too far away, have a gentle conversation with them about the learning environment and the teacher that influenced you, sort of your whole life, the one you remember. Share your teacher story. Go for it.
The same bars. I know about what you did and I want to scream the truth.
So we're switching heads.
She thinks you love the beach, you're such a damn liar. Those great whites, they have big teeth. Will they bite you? That you said that you would always be in love, but you're not in love no more. Did it frighten you? How we kissed when we danced on the light of floor, on the light of floor. But I hear sounds in my mind. Brand new sounds in my mind. Honey, I'll be seeing you wherever I go. Honey, I'll be seeing you down every road. I'm waiting for it, that green light. 'Cause honey, sometimes I wake up in a different bedroom.
Alright.
I whisper things to say, sings them back to you.
Good morning, everyone. It's funny, Matt's tapped into something that I know a little bit about there, and that's that whole notion of powerful learning experiences. There was actually a study done recently. Actually, I don't think it was so recent. They asked people what was the most powerful learning experience of their life, and the most common answer that comes back is that it was learning to ride a bike. And what was that all about? It's because you can't learn the content of riding a bike to achieve success. What you have to do is to have someone who runs along, a trusted person, someone who loves you, running along beside you and only letting go when they know you've achieved mastery before you know that you've achieved mastery. You know, remember that feeling? When you looked around and mum or dad are panting and gone? Yeah. And so that's, and I think that's a good metaphor for where we're going with what we're trying to do in bringing learning to the room. And what excites me, I guess, is Matt talking even about this room being a learning zone. And there are a lot of different zones, aren't there? Do you remember the zone he sang about? Remember Kenny Loggins talking about Danger Zone in Top Gun? I don't know that, you know. So, and you hear people talk about zones all the time, like, sports performers talk about being in the zone, don't they? Like the Richmond Football Club in September. I haven't stopped yet. It's about the performance in that top 5 to 10% of what you can actually, what you're capable of delivering, is when you're in the zone. I'm told there are things like a T-zone on your face. I'm told there's a bikini zone somewhere else that I don't know much about. And Kenny Loggins, I guess, for me, is making this a learning zone. Kenny Loggins is even responsible for one of my favourite misheard song lyrics. Anyone like to watch those clips with misheard song lyrics? Kenny Loggins, when he in his other, because he's a great philosopher, Kenny, and in his other great masterpiece, Footloose. He sang, dig way down deep in your heart, your burning yearning for some. And I, for, I reckon, 2 decades thought it was dig way down deep in your heart, your burning urine coleslaw. And I was a bit wrong. But what we're on about is trying to make this a true learning zone. And the zone that I'd like to bring your attention to today was actually designed by somebody called Lev Vygotsky. Way back in, early in the 20th century. He was a Russian psychologist, educators like Marianne in the room going, I know this bloke. And what he talked about was his zone of proximal development. And the zone of proximal development, to put it in really layman terms, is operating as long as you possibly can in the window for you between too hard and too easy. So when Matt says, if you come today feeling like I've already nailed something, he's put the job in front of you, that the window in front of you is to teach others, because we don't really know it. Einstein said you don't really understand it unless you can explain it to a 6-year-old. So it's about being determined to take that very next step. And Vygotsky spoke about 3 key ways that you move. What he talks about is a gradual release of responsibility. And what we're trying to do today is to understand that for some people who are arriving on day 1 today, there's a nervousness, there's an intimidation in knowing that you're in the red zone. They're in that, that dark zone, and it's a very emotional place where the learner can't do this. I don't know what to do with this. I'm white belt, I don't get it yet. But the work is not necessarily to just sit there and wait for someone else to take you to another place, because there's a release of responsibility involved in you moving through the yellow part here. And this is where Vygotsky's theories stand out a little differently. Because what Vygotsky said was that if you step through this yellow sphere, then you're more likely to get to the green zone. Which the yellow part is, can you do it with a bit of guidance? And that's that whole notion of us working as a tribe of chiefs. That we chief each other. We help each other to make sure that we're moving from not being able to do it into being able to do it with a little bit of guidance. And then the notion that when we're in the green zone, that what we want is you in the green zone where you can do it autonomously and unaided, because that's what you need to do for the next 90 days, isn't it? We need to get ourselves to a point where we're capable, because of immersion, to do incredible things over the next 90 days that will allow you to climb that belt ladder more quickly. So this whole thing is geared, this whole notion of pushing learning into the room will be a bit uncomfortable for people, because it's not what we're used to. Matt Hughes even spoke a few minutes ago about that this is not a seminar, this is not a personal development journey. You might develop personally, but it's not a personal development journey. What this is your own personal race to personal best black belt level as quick as we possibly can. And for you to do that, what we want to do is to, and I think that this whole Thought Leaders Business School from an educator point of view is a brilliant platform for that. Because it allows you to get the content you need when you can't do it. Go and watch the curriculum. Go and watch it again. Go and rewind the bit that you didn't get. Then it allows you to come into a situation like immersion, and also in your relationship with your mentor when you go back into your practice, where you do it with a little bit of guidance, with the view that when we're not there, when the hands are off the bike, that you fly. You absolutely nail it. And that's the journey that we're on about. And I guess you'll notice some things that have to be hallmarks of that, because for me, I think that you can't say that we're going to build upon an already wonderful educational program and become truly world-class about that. We can't say that we're going to do it without doing it explicitly. So that's why you get a learning passport today. Hit the ground running is kind of the message that comes from that, isn't it? Instead of coming in and waiting to receive, because that's the way we've done education for forever. That's the way seminars and workshops work, is that you pay your $350, you sit down and you go, give it to me. And that's not what this educational platform is all about, because this platform is about transformation and climbing the belt ladder. So what we want to do is get out of that transactional view of education and get ourselves into the view where we're really capable of doing it autonomously. And we have to do that explicitly. You have to have a plan for it. You have to have language. You have to have artefacts of that. So that first one, that passport, is all about, can you hit the ground running? Can you land in here instead of going, okay, let's see what happens? Can we go, no, we've actually I've given some thought about what I need to start, what I need to begin, what I need to finish, what I need to control, to make sure that when I leave here, the next 87 days are smack in that idea that I can do things in a really unaided way. So you'll notice that, I guess one of the things that I want to emphasise for you is that when Matt asked you to think a little bit about the best teacher you ever had, did anybody really quickly able to find someone? Yeah, okay. The worst ones are you'll do it even quicker. But the best ones, while you've got the picture of that person in your head, can I just check in, would you describe that person as being both firm and fair? Most of us did. And the people that we remember fondly are not necessarily the ones that we remember for one or the other. They did both. And so what we're on about here is trying to maximise the level of firmness and the level of fairness so that you learn at your optimum level. And we have to do that in an explicit way for it to be a change. So what I'm getting at, I guess, is just be comfortable with that difference. Be comfortable with that change. Because when we're really high on the firmness and low on the fairness, we tend to do things to you. We stand at the front of the room, we make it about delivery. So I hand it over to you, and that means that I've taken a very authoritarian position. I have the power because I have the knowledge, or I have a label that demonstrates my power in the room. And this doesn't work like that. This program doesn't work like that. Okay? In that situation, you become the receiver. You become quite passive in this. And some of these labels get reinforced then when it's all about power. Because once you're a white belt, this is why there's words on that ladder. Because once you're a white belt, there's a word that you need to actually adopt to move up, isn't there? So it's all about action, and what we want to do is step out of that as much as possible where we're doing the learning to you, because it doesn't encourage action. If we're low and low, we're not doing much at all. I always tell teachers this is the bit where you hide behind a newspaper the first 30 minutes of the day, and not much happens. And in there, you were quite indifferent and passive about the way that we work. But we all go there. We all go there. You know, where's Corinne? Corinne, brought up last night that, Corinne feels like me bringing learning into the room is about to smash her whole idea that coming to immersion is nice. And I just come because it's just such a good time. And it's my time when I don't have to think, I don't have to deliver, I just come in and it's really cool. And I get it that people will do that. And so what I'm telling you, I guess, is that I understand that we might go there, but it's temporary. So this here, the not box, is educational Fiji. You're allowed to go there, have a cocktail, get a tan, and then get out. All right? So I know that there'll be times today that you'll drift off to, because Matt told you to plan about what you're going to do tonight. I know that you'll do that even in the middle of the pink sheet session. Okay? But just feel yourself going and go, okay, that's what it was all about. Okay, good, I will go and drink tonight. You won't do that. You'll go, I'm going to homework club. And then get out. Get yourself back into a higher level of expectation and a higher level of support for yourself. If we're really fair, all the love, all the hugs, all the support, all the nurturing, but there's no expectation for you to step up, then we do things for you. For teachers, this is when they're tying the shoelaces of Year 7 kids. Don't need it. Now, you're not enabling or empowering anybody to step up. We're quite protective and we're easy and undemanding, that it's okay for you to come along to immersion and to sit and hope that everything's going to be good when you leave. And it's not, unless we fold in that firmness. And then genuinely what we're talking about here is working together. That's when we work with each other, is when we're highly relational. And that's that whole thing of, can we be so connected that when somebody lets go of the back of your bike that you still ride? Because we're in a highly relational environment. And it's not saying at all that the people who deliver some of the learning to the room around pink sheets and green sheets and clusters and collaterals, it's not saying at all that they don't know what they're talking about and that you shouldn't pay attention. But their power, their firmness, is an authoritative beast. It's because of what they do and how they help, not because of what the colour is on their lanyard, not because of their power. So it's an authoritative intention rather than an authoritarian one. And so you'll notice many things, or a handful of things. It's really not a disruptive change that's going on in this immersion. It's a subtle one. So little things, you'll notice little things like the passport. You might notice little opportunity to self-assess when you're talking about pink sheets. Let's find out not only what you know, but what your ability to apply it is, and then what your ability is to design and do it artfully. And if you're self-assessing yourself right down the end, then hey, it's time to go teach other people. Go and have a yarn and really deepen your understanding, as well as help them close that gap as well. You'll notice that the mentors at tables, that we're trying to spread ourselves out, and when it becomes time to just have a chat at your table, that your mentors might run a little session which is not them speaking, but them provoking you to do the speaking, and really work out where your gaps are and what you know and what you can share, to make it a genuinely more cooperative learning experience for all of us. And I want to just, I guess, prepare you finally that you won't like it. All of it anyway. Like Matt said, it's not comfortable to change the way we learn, and I know this because I've tried. Many years ago in my former life as a principal, I decided to change my school's homework policy. And I was really only reflecting good research. The research around primary school homework regimes, traditional ones like doing projects and memorising spelling lists, is that it drives parents a little bit crazy because you've got to sit up until 1:30 in the morning making scale models of paper mache volcanoes. It further alienates from a love of learning the kids who most need to love learning. And it's a really significant distraction for teachers who need to correct worksheets at lunchtime instead of having a sandwich and maybe going to the toilet. So we said, let's get rid of that and let's just bring in the stuff that works. Great home reading and anything that promotes what we call in Teacherland automaticity. So that's, can you do your times tables and know your sight words without having to actually go back and figure it all out with your fingers. You know, anything that promotes that with fun and games. So that was our entire homework policy. And I gave a little TEDx talk in Darwin about opening a new school where I mentioned that for about 30 seconds and found myself 40 minutes later on ABC radio trying to unpack it with full permission of the Education Department of the Northern Territory because they thought this sounded like good press. Then I got a phone call about 20 minutes later from a really interesting publication that some of you may have heard of, and it was called the NT News. Now why are you all laughing? It's the front pages, isn't it? There are 5 Cs. The NT News has one of the 5 Cs every time. Okay, it's either got criminals, cops, cane toads, cyclones, or crocodiles. So it's not exactly highbrow journalism. You've got to buy the NT News on July the 2nd because that's the night after Independence Night where fireworks are legal for one night of the year, because that means that the next day there'll be a story about someone who did something real crazy on cracker night, like the guy that they had on the front page that had a snake as a stubby holder with the headline, "Why I Stuck a Cracker Up My Clacker," which became so wildly popular that they leveraged it for their next headline. Remember when James Packer had the big fight with, was it Bruce Gingell on the, and the headline became, "Why I Have a Packer Up My Clacker." So when the NT News rings, you become nervous. And I rang Steve at the media department of the education. I said, I don't want to do this. I don't want to talk to the NT News. He goes, yeah, you have to. And I said, why? And he said, because they're going to rip you apart anyway. You might as well have a quote in there that defends yourself. And so I spoke to the NT News. And I actually thought it went pretty well. Thought it went all right. I slept well. And I got up the next day, and as I drove to work, I drove past the servo. And I thought, oh yeah, I've got to go and get a paper, because I had this in my head that maybe page 6, you know, innovative principle leads the way, could be the headline. I got into the servo, and you know the banner they have at the front that tells you what the front page is? That's when my heart rate started to increase. And I picked up that newspaper. I mean, sure, under Brutus the giant Photoshop crocodile, which to this day makes me very, very happy. School band's homework, about 14 words of text, continued, page 4. And my life changed. I got out to my car and I put the radio on. I thought, oh no, an ABC radio were taking talk back about us. I thought I'd get myself some Elvis, you know, just to get a break. And I switched over to like Gold 104 or something like that. Yeah, and they were talking about my school. I got out of the car in my car park, and Marnie, my business manager, got out of the car and she said, are we in for an interesting day? I said, yeah, we might be. I said, you've seen the newspaper? And she said, no. And I said, you've had the radio on? She said, no. And I said, what? And she goes, Sunrise are talking about us. And the Today Show are running a poll about whether crazy ideas like this are what's wrong with Australian schools and why we're slipping behind internationally. I went, great. And for 2 weeks, my world was turned upside down. Because this newspaper story got syndicated all around Australia. It went to South Africa, it went to Malaysia, it went to Japan, it went to Canada, it went to the United States, it went to Iceland. And what do Iceland care about what I'm doing in Darwin? You know, fair dinkum. But my world was upside down. There were Facebook groups set up about my school, and indeed about me, with some really nasty things said. You know, I mentioned last time on the project that, you know, things like, this bloke should never have been a principal. I saw him doing vodka laybacks at the cricket club 3 months ago, which was horribly untrue, you know, because it was tequila. But after 2 weeks, I was utterly exhausted. And 2 weeks later, I sat in my office on a Friday afternoon and I flicked my laptop open and I looked at this story and I looked at the comments that were made, all the nasty ones. I looked at the Facebook groups and saw all the rotten things that were written. But interdispersed among those comments were comments from parents at my school who said, you guys don't know what you're talking about. You know, we don't have to sit up until 1:30 in the morning making solar systems out of tennis balls. You guys don't know what you're talking about. The principal told us about this in the enrolment meeting. You guys don't know what you're talking about. This is the reason we enrolled our kids in this school. And it's the only time I can remember that a parent community of a school was mobilised in support of its principal without being asked to. The only time I can remember it. And what do I think that was about? It was about that we had explained the rationale for the change. We had prepared them for how we were going to change. We gave them a taste of what was going to be different. And then we just let them go. And so that's kind of the idea why I'm here today, is just to explain that change. You'll sort of, I won't be back, in any ongoing way at the front of the room. My role is to slip back into design, as is Trace's, to get back into trying to design opportunities that will help you go faster. So my advice to you today is, even though the learning might feel different and it might even feel a bit uncomfortable, is just go, okay, that's cool. And then see if it does, even though it's uncomfortable, even though some of the training to get to black belt can be uncomfortable, see if it does make you get there faster. Put yourself in that slightly uncomfortable space, put yourself in that window between too hard and too easy, and then I reckon some really cool things can start to happen. Get out of your way, have a great day everyone.
Well, thank you very much, Adam. One of the things that we see our job as doing is to teach teachers. And what Matt writes on his immigration, when you've got to put your occupation on your immigration form or your customs form, Matt writes teacher, which I really love. The idea that Matt's job, and all of us, is we're teachers. We're just not teaching in schools, and we're not doing it for not enough money. Yeah, and so there's and as Adam said, we're aiming to be a world-class education business. We're looking at what's happening in the world of education and saying, what do we need to do to be at the absolute cutting edge of that, of helping you learn. And I think it's useful for you to think of yourself as a teacher and be also kind of looking at this process going, okay, this is good because I'm learning better and getting there faster, but what can I take from this for my practice? So if we have this we've got these amazing educators, we've got like some of Australia's leading experts in Adam and Tracy and Tabitha now, and people who know education better than anyone in the country, who are informing this process. I think it's useful for you to look at that through another lens of saying, right, how in my practice can I implement best practice education? And how can I be a better teacher and have better learning outcomes for my students and my clients? So I want you, for a second, just on your own, to jot down perhaps one idea of how you can be a better educator yourself. And then share that with somebody nearby. But take a moment yourself, just jot down how can you be a better educator, and then share that. Thank you. So Matt said the theme for this immersion is you. This is an immersion about you. And we often say this isn't a personal development program. And whenever we say there's not a personal development program, everyone kind of sniggers and goes, yeah, we know it is. And what we mean by that is, while it's not, we realise this is absolutely a personal growth journey. And for you to get to black belt, things have to change. And you have to change. The current you and what's got you to here isn't enough to get you there. And the three things that I think need to change and that I observe changing and that we all need to deal with on this journey is, one, the voice in our head that says I'm not good enough, that we all have to a greater or lesser extent. The voice that says I don't deserve this, again, which we all have, and being dysfunctional around money, which we all are. So we've all got these voices going on in our head and we're all crazy about money, and we have to deal with that to get to black belt. But what we mean when we say this isn't a personal development program is, if you come up to me and say, I've got this voice telling me I'm not good enough, I'm not going to sit down and say, so let's talk about your mum. Oh yeah, we really need to reinvent that. Oh, is that the belief you've got? Well, maybe we could insert this. That's not what we do. What we do is say, well, go and sell something. And then let's see how the voice is going. And if it's still there, we'll go and sell something bigger. And see what's happening. And any kind of work that we do on you, and obviously the first module in the curriculum is all about you, is not with the intent of having you become more self-expressed or more present in the moment or closer to enlightenment or a more fulfilled being. It's all great if that happens, but it's all very much around helping clever people be commercially smart. So anything that's on you is only to help you get to black belt, to help you run a successful practice. And that's our filter. So for the theme, well, this immersion is about you, it's with that intent. It's us saying, what do we think right now is the thing that's going to help this room progress? And it is some work that's going to happen on you over the next 3 days. With every immersion, we start by completing the last quarter. So we look at what's happened over the last 90 days, celebrate what we've achieved, commiserate what we haven't, do whatever we need to do to be able to go to put that to bed. And then from lunchtime, everybody is at day 0 for the next quarter. And so your job in the next 45 minutes is to do whatever you need to do to put the last quarter to bed and be ready to start present for the next 90 days. And that's the whole design of this immersion, is then to get you ready for the most successful quarter possible. So, grab your placemat. For those of you who are paying attention, you'll notice a couple of little tweaks since last quarter. Write your name, the date is today the 22nd? Yes. 222, cool. It's the kind of thing that amuses me. And then we're going to zoom into the numbers for the last 90 days. So your belts, obviously, you can look at your lanyard for that. And your numbers, you should be able to look at your report. Then going to jump up and become a little more contextual. Your big word, the word that encapsulates all your wisdom, all your experience, everything you have to teach in one word, or the current iteration of that. The master message is your market-facing version of that, how you describe that to the world. Matt was saying earlier, integrity is my superpower. That's my big word, but it's not the master message. Implementation is my master message. That's what I go to market through and with. And then the 90-day theme is, what's the next quarter about? And you may not yet know your 90-day theme. You might leave that blank and see what emerges over the course of the immersion. Sliding across, we've got our folders of expertise, our different domains of knowledge, current and future. Our pink sheet scores, how many we have uploaded, how many of those we reckon we've nailed are aces, and most importantly perhaps your 90-day target. So how many pink sheets you're aiming for over the next quarter. And that, if you're not sure what to put there, put 25. If your job is 101 every year, then that's 25 a quarter. And if you want to overachieve, you can up that number. Like what Kat's got for her 90-day target is hit 101 in the next 90 days. Good option. And then finally, across the top section, we've got the book. So if you're here at day 0 or day 90, you might not have this yet. But if you're in a process with a book, let us know there how you're going. And let's have a song to complete that top section. If you need some help with any of that, if you're unclear about any of those bits, stick your hand up and someone will come and help. And let's have a song. Thank you. Yeah. Cluster fails. I'm having a presentation fail. So our game plan is to launch a cluster every quarter, 4 clusters a year, 12 clusters over 3 years. Half of them fail, half of them succeed, and that's the basic game plan to get to black belt. So, if your cluster over the last 90 days failed, now is your chance to acknowledge that and put that to bed. So, stand up if your cluster has failed over the last 90 days. You didn't do what you set out to do. All right. So I should have half the room standing up. Although we have had a pretty successful quarter, so maybe that's...
Two.
Yeah.
Which you love.
Chew. I do love it. I do love a good chew. So
why are we celebrating a cluster fail? Wisdom, learning, learn from failure, all that kind of stuff. But it's also, remember, you're going to launch how many clusters? 4, and how many over 36 months? 12, and how many are likely to fail? What's the failure rate built in? All right, great. So now what you've got is one of them behind you. Here we go. Because if you're first in the room wondering, why did we just clap a whole bunch of people whose clusters didn't work? Come on, who had that moment? Who had that moment? Just me? Okay. Good, as you were saying.
Yeah, it's also, we want to change our relationship to failing, and particularly to failing clusters. We have to get really okay with that. And for me, it's much more about how many we can get to market how quickly than it is about what percentage of them are successful. It's a big change in mindset. It's not, like Ad was saying, this is not how we're taught. In school, it's not about how many attempts you have at something. It's all about what's your percentage success rate. So, which is totally different to life. In life, you get to have as many attempts as you want. And in this game, we just want to have more attempts. We're not trying to say, all right, let's spend 2 years working on the perfect cluster launch so we can have a 90% success rate, which is how we traditionally think. We're saying, go quick, let's get them out of the way, let's find out, let's run another experiment and another experiment and another experiment. And be okay with the ones that don't work. That's actually a necessary part of it. This may have failed because they just didn't buy it, or because you didn't do the work, or there's just something that's a little bit out. And it's worth, if your cluster did fail, kind of having a look at that and saying, okay, which one was it? And what is the lesson that you've learnt from that? So if you flip over your placemat, you'll see a practice version on the other side. And I want you to jump into the reflections and take a moment to look back at the last 90 days and say what's worked well. So this box here, what's worked well, what's energised me, what didn't work, what do I want to do more of, and what's my biggest challenge or decision. And just take a few minutes and a song to reflect on your last 90 days and answer those questions.
Call it out like a family. Stood up at my time, get a ride until the rubber leaves the road. You said don't lie, so I made the truth seem like a lie to even you.
You do not know where you're going to. So don't you worry. You'll be my resolution. Characters of no illusion. You'll be my resolution. 1 month down and it's inside. Oh, I'm guaranteed to lose my mind. It's dangerous to speak inside. You might know what I'm trying to hide. So from the cradle to quarter age, oh, I bought the book but didn't flip the page. Oh, ready to sit still, we stay as far away from the coming of days. So don't you worry. You'll be my resolution. Characters all illusion. You will be my resolution. Characters all illusion. You will be my resolution. Turn around, put it down and see that this is really the place to be. I'm not you, nor you me, but we're both moving steady.
So as well as acknowledging our failures, we also want to celebrate our wins. This is something that Michael Henderson, who Matt talked about earlier, our friend, corporate anthropologist, has advised us on what are the rituals we need to put in place to help form a tribe, and particularly a tribe of chiefs. And this is part of that. What are the things that we want to acknowledge? And when we've taken ground, how do we want to kind of own that and put a stake in the ground that that's what we're up to, and that's what this bit is about. So over the last 90 days, this room submitted 1,627 pink sheets. All right. %50 increase on last quarter. Thanks in no small part to the amazing Lynn Kazali. Awesome quest, thank you. So everybody knows you can't sell over Christmas, right? 12,560,951 dollars of sales. I guess you can. Which brings us to a total of over 15,000 pink sheets and over $163 million in sales since we kicked off. That's all right. That's all right. Yeah, baby.
Almost.
Almost. We would probably have to make it a share house, but if you are at your first immersion, please stand up. Very, very warm welcome. Sit down unless your name is Tabitha, in which case you can stay standing for a new Pink Sheet record. Clive, you've been smashed. Thank you, awesome. And if your day number is higher than 361 and you haven't got your 101 Pink Sheets yet, you should be just like shrinking a little bit in your seat when you look at that number on day one. That is very, very cool. So one of the things that we're talking about now, and part of what we're looking at with the part of this review, is what are the natural kind of endpoints, and how does our alumni sort of stay in this tribe, and how long do you need to be in this room, and when should you be in this room, and what does it look like to step sideways? And so there are times, obviously, when people come to a natural endpoint. So if that's for you now, if this is your final immersion, please be upstanding and let us celebrate that. All right, Alan. Okay. So close, so close. We might have to see if we can sell something over the next. It's a size 10. We looked at cluster failures. If, on the other hand, your cluster was successful over the last 90 days, if you have had a cluster win, however that looks, it may not have been the cluster you set out to have win, but if you have had a cluster win over the last 90 days, stand up. All right. So we also celebrate the impact we have. And when we talk about what a successful practice is, we say it's about revenue, $500,000 to $1.5 million, 50 to 200 days with 1 or 2 support staff, and lifestyle, doing work you love with people you like the way you want, and legacy, making the difference you were born to make and having an impact in your world. And so we also want to celebrate the impact that we're having. And I want to just have a quick shout out to a couple of people who have had an impact in this room over the last 90 days. Lynn Kazali with our Pink Sheet Sprint. Thank you, Lynn. Brian Whitefield with the Boiler Room. Thank you, Brian. And everybody who actually gave us feedback in the Loyalty Zone report, or who spoke to Lisa, or who did both, we appreciate that enormously, and we're taking it all on board. We're obviously not going to do everything that everyone said, but we really appreciate it. And 3 people in particular for me that are kind of just symbolic of everybody who did that, but who have made an impact is Andrew Prattley and Zoe Routh and Dave Wild have all given us feedback that has been implemented and had made a difference. But you 3, on behalf of everybody who gave feedback, thank you very much for that impact. And if you've had an impact in your practice, so somewhere over the last 90 days you have changed somebody's life, changed the course of an organisation, done something that you go, yeah, that has changed, I've changed my world, or I've changed somebody's world, then please stand up.
Corey, please stand up again. Corey, what impact have you had in the world in the last 90 days?
Well, I run a meditation group, a donation-based meditation group on Long Island, and as my work has increased, it takes me, I travel a lot more, so I've been trying to sustain that, and so I've been organizing a bunch of teachers on Long Island to help teach when I'm not there, and we have a community of about 50 to 100 people that come each week and really value the low-cost opportunity to learn meditation. So that's one area.
Nice.
Thanks, Colin.
So if you had a breakthrough anywhere in your practice in the last 90 days, in your thinking, selling, delivery, or anywhere else, or if you just feel like standing up because you haven't stood up yet and had a clap, this is your chance. Stand up if you've had some breakthrough somewhere, and let's acknowledge that. If you have done 25 or more pink sheets in the last 90 days, stand up. And stay standing if you've hit 101 pink sheets, if you have passed 101 pink sheets. Nice work. The books. So we wanted to quickly talk to Marie about you're right there, about the experience of completing a book and the difference that's made, and then celebrate everybody who has done a book in the last 90 days.
Well, first up, congratulations to everybody who's done their book this quarter, because I know how tough that is. For me, the impact of the book means that I'm about $2,000 off my first green quarter ever. And what I would say it's done for me is cemented my conviction in the work that I do and in the lives that I change. And it's really helped me narrow my practice down to the absolute ideal client. So everything that we've been taught in this program around do the book, do the book, do the book, do the book.
And what was so your book was 90 days ago?
Yes.
What's it called?
Last quarter. Cutting Through the Grass Ceiling, Stories of Women in Regional Australia Creating Possibility. And it's awesome, and it's sold out. And I have to reprint.
And when you say it's helped you get really clear on who you serve and who your market is, who's that?
Oh, my market is women in regional areas of Australia and potentially the world who are seeking to make a difference in the lives of others and create possibility where they live.
Yeah, beautiful. That never would have occurred to me as a market, and I love that it is, and that they need your help, and that they're buying your book.
They sure are, in droves.
That is fabulous. Thank you. So if your book got completed in the last 90 days, please come on down and stick it on the bookshelf.
Wow, this is a power table tonight. That's a lot of black belts. I'm thinking it's not their first book. Wow. Wow, that is a very powerful. Well done. So, boys. Yeah.
If sometime in the last 90 days you've had your best ever month, or the last 90 days was your best ever quarter, or you're just at now your best ever year, please stand up and let's celebrate that.
Yeah, come on.
Very, very cool. Most pink sheets for the last
Come on.
90 days. And I think Tabitha probably should be on this list as well. So Tabitha, Clive, Karen and Lynn Kazali, you rock. Please stand up. Most approaches. Sally, Marie again, and Jane. Nice, please stand up. And Zoe, who was on this list 90 days ago, tell us what that resulted in.
What do you mean now?
So, yeah.
I think the question I had was, what has approaches meant in my practice? But I can talk about, well, last quarter,
yeah, exactly.
I had a great quarter. I got black belt quarter this quarter, so that was freaking awesome. But 3 years ago, this was my first immersion, February 2015. And when we did our exercise of pick your cluster, I picked my cluster, picked my market, and you had to identify people you could approach. And I had 7 people on that list. I went, oh, I got some problems here. Great with all the modes. I had a white belt practice that was basically whoring out, so subcontracting other people's IP for poor daily rates. And I knew 7 people I could approach. So I thought, that's the part I need to work on. And my theme, and I looked at my notebooks just recently, was for that quarter, approach. And so I did. I approached any man and their dog on anybody I could approach on any topic. And that's been my theme every other quarter. So I average about 100 approaches each quarter at a couple of spikes and a couple of low quarters. And I work on about 10 approaches a week. And my philosophy is no approaches, no meetings, no sales. So Monday morning, 10 a.m., I'm hitting the phones, and it's still hard, but I keep doing it because I get sales. Yay!
Very, very cool. Most meetings, Cameron, Rebecca, and Chris, please stand up. And I think it's just worth thinking about what these numbers would feel like for you. So if you come back to 150 approaches is what it takes to get on this leaderboard, or 50 meetings in a quarter, neither of those numbers seem that big to me. It's not like we've got 200 meetings happening in a quarter. This is 4 meetings a week and 12 approaches a week. So just take a moment to think, what would it take for you to do that, to be on these leaderboards when we get back together in May? What would 150 approaches over the next quarter look like for you? And what would 50 meetings over the next quarter look like for you? And what would you need to do differently? You look at your learning passport. What would need to change for that to happen over the next 90 days?
Well, hot and heavy pumpkin pie, chocolate candy, Jesus Christ, ain't nothing please me more than you. Oh, let me come home. Home is wherever I'm with you. Oh, let me come home. Home is wherever I'm with you.
And approaches and 50 meetings. What does that feel like? I really love that. Did anybody have a moment when Zoe just said that thing she said? What was it? What did she say?
Still really hard.
The still really hard bit? Yeah, she did say that. That was on the Monday bit. No approaches, no meetings, no sales. I hit the phone on Mondays. Imagine if you're going to bed on Sunday night going, that's all right, I'm going to hit the phone on Mondays. I'm going to hit the streets on Mondays. Okay, I'm going to have 4 meetings this week. That's what's going to happen. Imagine if that, like, if that's the outcome of this question that Pete's asked, is what would it feel like? Who cares about the leaderboard and whether you're on it or not? It's that, because the whole point of that is to make your boat go faster, right? The whole point of that is to help you get there quicker. You would go to, who thinks you would sleep differently on Sunday night? You know when you're waking up on, like Chloe had a swimming carnival on Friday, so she says, I'm going to bed early Thursday night because I'm having a swimming carnival on Friday. That's what you do whatever your Sunday night thing is getting ready for your Monday, isn't it? Because of that really clear intent, which is no surprise. It's a big part of Zoe's practice that you would have clear intent. But I love, you know, whatever it might be, what is the thing you'd say to yourself on the Sunday night or the Tuesday night, and how you dress for success. That's that whole setting yourself up, isn't it? That's setting yourself up to do the good work. You know, your phone's on charge, isn't it? Because you're going to be doing a whole heap of calls. You've got the extra battery charged up because you're going to be doing a whole heap of calls. You know, you're going to, in your car, you've figured out everybody's number and you've put it in the notes field on iCloud. So all you have to do is go bang, next person, next person, next person. You've cut and paste. You've set it up to make it easy. You're not trying to drive on your car, looking in a CRM to type a search field at the red lights illegally to find the next person's name. You've set yourself up for success, and that's very powerful, Zoe. I think very powerful around the cadences and the habits and the disciplines that get us through.
Cameron again, Chris again. I don't think we have Mr. Madden with us, but you guys, stand up. Cameron, Chris, most proposals. Now we're getting into some nice big numbers. Most sales.
Come on, Maz.
Maz. Kate and Kate. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up. Stand up, Kate. Stand up, Kate. Come on. If
make it rain.
If you have had a barbecue, a black belt quarter. We have a record number of black belt quarters.
Wow.
Proving that Christmas doesn't mean anything.
You can't sell over Christmas.
If you have had a black belt quarter, please be upstanding.
Wow. You have to change that colour. No, let's change it.
Most delivery. Kate been selling and delivering. Nice work, Kate, Simon, and Tracy, who, for family reasons, isn't with us, and not just saying that like a politician.
No.
She's actually, for family reasons, not with us.
Not like Barnaby.
Kate and Simon, please stand up. Nice work. We have 3 new blue belts. So we celebrate blue belt because this is the first point where we say this is now a successful practice. $500,000 to $1.5 million a year, working 50 to 200 days, with the lifestyle you want and making the difference you want, a successful practice. So if you have hit blue belt in the last 90 days, please stand up.
Yay!
Nice. want you to imagine the symbolic blue belt that got left in a suitcase somewhere.
Sorry, I was in charge of the belts.
Transferred.
Again.
So there is a blue belt coming your way.
Symbolic blue belt. Symbolic.
And again, a record number. So can we have all our current black belts standing up, please? I think we have all the current black belts up on the stage.
Please, on. On. It's where we know it is where you're comfortable. Hello, I'm lovely to see you. Lovely to see you. Hello, hello, lovely. Lovely, 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 lovely. I don't know why I'm doing this, but now I've started. I really can't stop. Hello.
We got it, though. You'll be careful when you start. It's a black belt. It's too big.
Nice. It's very important cultural understanding that these people, we call them black belts, they're running a black belt practice. Yeah? So a black belt mindset, anyone in the room can have, and it's just your practice's running rate will get to this. That's the game that we're all playing, right? So what would a black belt do is a beautiful meme around what would you choose to do in any given moment. So I love this black belt community because here's the thing, a lot of people can learn a curriculum, but to apply it in your own unique way, doing all that amazing value in the world is really quite extraordinary. And to turn up in the spirit of service, because they're all here for their practices and all sorts of things as well, it's an extraordinary community as well. So they're excellent. Love, blessings, and well done, bloody good. Did you have a, yes, bloody good. Pete's mantra for this group is how's your wealth, how's your net worth going, because they've got to be financially free, which is important. I feel like my mantra for this group is have you booked a holiday? Yes, good. Awesome, good.
Can we have our new black belts come on down?
Wow, hey? How amazing is that? Come. Wonderful. Yay. Oh, well, you and I are good. Oh, hello, Maz. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Well done. So, boys? Good. Congratulations, Kate. Well done. Give us a good. Oh, look at you.
Time after time, I think, oh Lord, what's the use? Time after time, I think it's just no good. 'Cause sooner or later in life, the things you love, you lose. But you've got the love I need to see me through. You got the love, you got the love, you got the love. You got the love, you got the love, you got the love. You got the love, you got the love.
Oh, you in a minute.
Before you disappear, quick insight from each of you on what this moment means to you, or no, that'll do. What this moment means to you.
I think for me, I think I first came along maybe a year ago, and I genuinely, if you're feeling like you don't really get it, I was Googling ROI and KPI, because I come from a TV background. I know jack shit about, business really. And now I think I know everything, not really. And now I don't know, this has really helped me kind of understand that actually, because I was sitting here thinking, I know nothing. I literally know nothing. And now I can think, do you know, I do know stuff. And if you're feeling like you don't know stuff, you probably do. So that's all I'd say to anyone who's new.
There might be a bit of breathing through this, so I don't lose my shit on camera. Thanks, Lisa. 2 words for me are belief and belonging. Feeling like I do, because I haven't for a long time. You know, and here's a room where everyone's a little bit weird, and it's awesome. So my word of advice would be fly your freak flag high and proud. And the belief piece is I do know some shit. I am really good at what I do, and I am never going to be done getting better. And thank you, Lisa, for believing in me before I did.
So I came on board here a year ago, 10 years at Greenbelt, and thought that was my lot in life, exhausted. And I just took on the mentality and obsessed over positioning and what would a black belt do. And then I stalked Janine to take me on as a mentor externally to this program, because we just really fit, and writing the white paper and that sort of stuff has been amazing for me, and just really appreciative of your support, and I wanted to say it here publicly because it's been a game changer for me, so thank you. And then just one other thing, internally my mentor Linda couldn't be more different from each other, and she's really steered the ship internally in here, and I really appreciate that time as well, so thank you.
I came here a year ago having spent 2 years. I did a lot of thinking. I wrote a book. It took me 2 years to write it, all full-time, 9 to 5. So I had a bit of IP stored up, and I didn't know what to do with it, how to sell it, or if anyone wanted it. And I think my experience over the last 12, so no belt to black belt, has the belief, I think. And Corinne always says, you know, get out of your own way. Get out of your own way, because when you start to do it, you've got a long way to go, but when you start to do it, it's just amazing how fast you can go.
So you guys are about to go and join the rest of the Black Belt tribe. What's really cool about you four, and Dan as well when he comes, you're all nuts. And in the best possible way. And none of you have followed a conventional route to black belt. Like, this is you've all done it your way, which is perfect.
I always felt really guilty about that.
Yeah, we love it. So while these guys are kind of joining that group and being welcomed in, I want you to talk to somebody next to you about the decision that you made to come in here to go for black belt. I think it's a really courageous thing to aim for, and if you're serious about it, it's aiming for a life with no compromise. No compromise around how you get paid and how you get valued. No compromise about how you live your life, and no compromise about the difference you make. And so yeah, just with the person next to you, have a conversation about how that decision is going for you, and if you need to kind of retake those marriage vows, recommit to that decision, while these guys get welcomed in to the black belt community, and we have a song. Thank you, Cam.
Get out of your way. Love hurts. Now you're the girl who's left with no words. Your heart's a balloon, but then it bursts. It doesn't take a cannon, just a pin.
listen to this song. Get out of your own way. Get out of your own way. I could sing it to you all night, all night. If I could, I'd make it alright, alright. Nothing's stopping you except what's inside. I can't help you, but it's your fight, your fight. Fight back. Don't take it lying down, you got to bite back. The face of liberty's starting to crack. She had a plan until she got a smack in the mouth, and it all went south like freedom. The slaves are looking for someone to lead them. The master's looking for someone to need him. The promised land is there for those who need it most. And Lincoln's ghost said, get out of your own way. Get out of your own way. I can sing it to you all night, all night. If I could, I'd make it alright, alright. Nothing's stopping you except what's inside. I can't help you, but it's your fight, your fight. Get out of your own way. Get out of your own
Thank you. So, we are now going to quickly huddle with our mentors before going to lunch. So, quick reminder, the role of your mentor is to coach you through the curriculum, not to tell you what to do. And it's part of, again, what Adam was talking about, what's best practice education. It actually, this program is designed to help you work out what to do, not to tell you what to do. And that's the job of your mentor. So and at times that's different than what we want. We would prefer, and what we're used to is just somebody can come who's an expert who tells us what to do. And despite the fact that your mentor is someone who's done it, that's not their job. Their job is to ask you the questions that will help you work out what to do. And one of the privileges we have here is working with people running successful practices, which means they've got their own practices. This isn't their full-time gig. They're running a successful blue belt, black belt practice and kind of hanging around to give something back. And we kind of made the decision that that's more valuable than having somebody who's got incredible availability. So again, it means your mentor is not, and they're all very generous to a fault, and they're not there to call every week. It's kind of the trade-off. We thought having somebody, when we designed it, having people who have played this game is such a unique opportunity for us. And it's such a, yeah, I think a great part of this, that you get coached by somebody who's walked this path. And we really appreciate the faculty. It's a critical part of making this whole thing work. So, you're now going to huddle with your mentors. Stand up, please, mentors. If Susan is your mentor, you're going to be with Corinne. And if Craig is your mentor, you're going to be with Rel. You want to stand up, Rel? And otherwise, you're just with your normal mentor. You're with Rel in the blue top Gabrielle Doland. And we are back at 1:45. Great first session, everybody. We are off and rolling. See you 1:45.
Baby, this is what you came for. Lightning strikes every time she moves, and everybody's watching her, but she's looking at you. Watching her. what you came for. Lightning strikes every time she moves. This is what you came for. Lightning strikes every time she moves. And everybody's watching her, but she's looking at
Headbanger. Hit me. Hit me. Give me some new sh- yeah. Give me some new sh- yeah. Give me some new. Mississippi putting it down. I'm the hottest round. I told y'all mother, y'all can't stop me now. Listen to me now. I'm lasting 20 rounds. And if you want me, then come on get me now. Is you with me now? Then biggie bounce. I know you dig the way I switch my style. Holla, holla. People sing around. Now people gather